This is a movie review from 1961, The Last Sunset. The script was written for the screen by Dalton Trumbo. You may recall I mentioned him in another movie I reviewed recently. He was one of the alleged communists that was infiltrating Hollywood and part of the McCarthy witch hunt in the 50s, and for many years he was unable to get work. Thankfully, in 1961, sanity had returned and he had been getting work, and this is a pretty good script. The movie is directed by Robert Aldridge, and it's got a cast which is pretty impressive. Rock Hudson plays Dana Stribling. He's a Texas lawman, and he's on the lookout for an outlaw, and that outlaw is Brendan O'Malley, played by Kirk Douglas. He wants O'Malley for the murder of his brother-in-law. The movie is set in Mexico, and he has crossed the border to track down O'Malley. Continuing the cast, Dorothy Malone plays Belle Breckenridge. She is the wife of a rancher, played by Joseph Cotton, John Breckenridge. He is prone to liking a drop of the alcohol and is frequently seen in bars getting paralytically drunk. Their daughter is Missy, and she's played by Carol Linley in a very early role. This young woman became quite a famous actress from here on. And there are various other parts, supporting roles. Now, Dorothy Malone became famous after her period in Hollywood, when she was the star in a TV series down the road, Peyton Place it was called, and some of you may have watched that. Rock Hudson, I reviewed one of his movies some time ago, Giant. He was a pretty famous actress, had a pretty reliable sort of delivery, really. But the star, Joseph Cotton, a movie star that went way back into the 40s, and but the star of the show, as far as I'm concerned, was Kirk Douglas. So at the beginning of the film, we witness O'Malley arriving at the ranch and reuniting to an extent with Belle. They have been lovers in the past, and it's clear that O'Malley still has a shine for her, although there has been quite a lot of water under the bridge because she subsequently got married and had a child. So we're talking about a relationship that took place probably 20 years previously. O'Malley meets Missy, who's completely taken in by him and starts to have an affectionate interest in him. O'Malley manages to negotiate work with Belle, and subsequently John, who returns after a bit of an alcoholic binge, and the job is to take the cattle from Mexico into Texas and sell them. Before they get underway, though, Stribling arrives, and he's on the hunt for O'Malley, and to cut a long story short, they agree to delay their confrontation, their feud, and help the Breckenridge family get the cattle to Texas. There's a huge number of cattle around, and they really do need a skilled man with a gun, and also a skilled mover of cattle, to which Stribling is. So the two of them decide to keep on hold the issue about Hudson's determination to either arrest O'Malley and take him back to a court of law where it's likely he'll be hanged, or for an inevitable confrontation between the two with revolvers, as is the case in so many westerns that we've seen down the years. Okay, so that's the basic premise. The movie, though, is far more than that, and I love the way the characters develop and amidst the story. Now Douglas was coming off that stupendous role in Spartacus the year before, and it's pure class really with regard to him, of how he can change from that role into a rather mischievous womanizer type of character who you really wouldn't trust further you can throw him. But he has a certain appealing aspects to his character, which both Belle and her daughter Missy find attractive. And although Belle is unwilling to fall into O'Malley's seduction plan, she's given a way out, really, once Stribling arrives and he expresses his desire for Belle to be his wife in the future. This then prompts the daughter to take an even more closer romantic interest in O'Malley, even though there's a huge age difference. The two men are contrasting. Hudson's character is very stolid, very predictable, thorough, and very much to the letter of the law. He wants to carry out his lawful duties. On the other hand, O'Malley is much more into, we'll put that on the back burner and let's get the benefits of this period of time doing this job. Although he's doesn't have to wait long before he has the opportunity to show us his talent with a gun. There's lots of very nice Mexican style song with Spanish guitars that we witness with the group as they maneuver the cattle. They have Mexican hands who are quite adept with the guitar and the vocals, and I found that quite a nice diversion. And of course we also get the predictable scenario when the local indigenous population try and get in on the act and are misread by O'Malley, who shoots one of them dead, and Stribling has to negotiate a deal with the indigenous group by offering them cattle from the herd. The cattle, 1/5 in fact, was actually the amount of cattle that John promised O'Malley when O'Malley took the job. The scene when those two first discussed terms is one of the highlights, because Douglas states quite clearly his two conditions. The first is that he wants 1/5 of the herd, and the second, he makes quite boldly, is he wants John Breckenbridge's wife, Belle. So that one's certainly worth looking out for. As the movie progresses then, it becomes a bit of a road movie, and we see how the two romances as such develop, albeit slowly, and it's one of those movies where you are drawn into the romance, alongside the fact that you know that these two characters are basically going to draw horns, towards the end of the movie, and that's exactly what happens when the cattle arrives in Texas after crossing the river. There was one absolutely fantastic scene though that I want to mention to you, and there was a point where a calf is detached from the herd and is unable to move, although the calf's standing up, because he can't smell its mother. It's too frightened to move, and Stridlin gets Missy and they go to the calf, and Stridlin covers the eyes of the calf and then asks Missy to blow into the nose of the calf, which he does, and from that moment onwards he states that the calf will now smell her and believe her to be the mother. I found it a wonderful scene and really drew out the talent of Hudson. Really, he was a very underrated actor. But in terms of the quality of acting, Douglas is head and shoulders above everybody. He commands the centre of the camera, and his use of the script and his emotional transference when he's communicating his words, I found absolutely wonderful. And you know, the variety of roles. You know, there was, of course, Paths of Glory, Spartacus. Then we had the gunfight at the OK Corral as Doc Holliday, and now this, he's a baddie. And we had another movie where he was a lawman, and his wife was murdered, and that one involved Anthony Quinn. That I reviewed some times back. And anyway, as we get to the inevitable climax between the two, I won't spoil you with that. But let's just say there's another little sort of edge to it. There's another little twist in the tale as we reach the end of the movie, and the final scenes are particularly striking, and they sort of reminded me really a little of what we were going to see later in the Sergio Leone trilogy with Clint Eastwood. You know, the final showdown. So make sure you catch that. So anyway, that's my review. I could have gone on and talked about this movie for hours. The Last Sunset, I'd never seen it before. It was a pleasant surprise, and I thoroughly recommend it.